Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming and welcome. I love to have an event where we scramble around for chairs. And we had Dan and Natasha come up from Jackson County and ran through the rain to get here, and they're here. This is exciting. We're glad to have you all here. We're looking forward to telling you what we are planning to do with the Partnerships for Early Learners. Couple of mechanics. There are restrooms upstairs should you require that. We will have refreshments after this program. If you have not signed in, although I think we caught everybody, please do that so we know you are here and we can find you if we need it. There's also a card there that is going to orient you to our new website, the Partnerships for Early Learners website. So please pick that up, and because we will have much of the information you will start to see showing up there over the next few weeks. This is the launch event for the Partnerships for Early Learning Strategies. Many of you were involved with this. I think all of you were involved with this. And so we're excited to talk about it. I want to thank some people who are making tonight possible. For tonight's event, I want to thank the platform and the Local Initiative Support Corporation, LISC Indianapolis, for allowing us to use this great space. I want to thank American Graduate, WFYI Channel 20, for helping to provide some of the audio, and they also are taping this event, and we are streaming it. There are maybe people around the state watching us as we are talking tonight. And what our program tonight will also be on our website so you can view it in the future and remember what we said. And we want to thank Sun King Brewery. In a few minutes, you will have the opportunity to sample some product that Sun King donated tonight, so thanks to them. We also want to do a special thank you to all our partners, and just be comfortable, there are many partners in this project. Our projects at the system level around early learning in Indiana, the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning Indiana of the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration, the Early Learning Advisory Committee, many of you serve on one of those committees, the Indiana Department of Education, and Indiana Workforce Development. For our project partners so far, and there will be more, our project partners so far, 4C of Southern Indiana, Child Care Answers, the Early Childhood Alliance, the Indiana Association for Child Care Resource and Referral, IACRA, the United Way of Central Indiana. And finally, our strategy partners, the organizations who have helped us put together our strategies, who did over 800 interviews and surveys throughout the state of Indiana, and an exhaustive literature review, and have prepared us to deliver this information to you tonight. And those strategy partners are the American Institutes of Research, the Indiana Youth Institute, Transform Consulting Group, with the actual baby in the room tonight, Indiana Association for the Education of Young Children, IAYC, the Early Childhood Center at Indiana University, and the Harvard Family Research Project, as well as the Center on Enhancing Early Learning Outcomes, CELO. And finally, a quiet acknowledgement and appreciation for the support of the Lilly Endowment, Inc., which is allowing Early Learning Indiana to serve in this role. So thank you, Lilly Endowment, for all you make possible. Tonight, I want to introduce our guest speaker, Karen Ponder, who's a national leader with broad and long experience in early learning, who's been a teacher of children, a teacher of other teachers, an early learning director and board member and policymakers. She worked for the North Carolina Division of Child Development, working with special education, which is an issue that's close to her heart, before she helped to create Smart Start in North Carolina, which she also led for 15 years. Karen and her husband have 2 children and 5 grandchildren, and here's the most telling thing I'm going to share about Karen Ponder tonight. Her grandchildren range in ages from 14 to 22, and since they were born, annually Karen and her husband host a grandma camp weekly at their house in Raleigh in the summertime. Those children, remember the ages 14 to 22, still all go to Grandma Camp every summer and are coming up in July for the 2015 Karen Ponder Grandma Camp. Now a national consultant with the Build Initiative and the Alliance for Early Success, Karen has advised in 47 states about comprehensive learning systems change at the state and local levels. Before today, Karen had 3 states in which she had not consulted. Today, I am pleased to cut that number to 2, so South and North Dakota watch out, by introducing Karen Ponder to Indiana.
Thank you, Monty. It's funny about the cousin camp. So every year I think, you know, they're not going to want to do this again, and I give them every chance not to, because I don't want them to come when they don't want to come. So last year, Lucas said, no, Grandma, we're going to come until our children are old enough, and then we can bring them. And I'm like, yeah, maybe not. Your mother's going to have to step up. So I want to begin by saying that when the public and private sectors work together in synergy on behalf of young children, their outcomes are brighter and their futures will be better. It's such a pleasure to join you all today and to think about partners and how we build partnerships for young children. A special thank you to Ted and all of his staff. It's been delightful to get to meet them and really hear about all the great work they're doing and about the launching of this Partnerships for Early Learners. I believe it's the beginning of a statewide effort that will engage and include partners at all levels of the state and local communities. And I applaud the strategies that you're about, from building high quality to developing new spaces for children in center-based programs, to family engagement and workforce development, and all of these while you're continuing to create innovative partnerships and new ways of thinking about how we meet the needs of all children and their families. I celebrate with you and recognize that it is in building on all the great work you've already done that you're to this place today. So thank you to everyone who's played a role in this amazing city and region and state and all the great work you do. I always feel good, even though I haven't worked here, I can't take any credit for it. I always feel good about what you're doing in Indiana, and I hope you'll keep moving down this partnership road, because I think it is the right road. Back in 1993, my state leaders and the governor, Jim Hunt, started searching for answers to the question of why our schools weren't making more progress toward reaching national norms and standards. In talking to elementary teachers, he learned that many children come to school without the skills, abilities, and dispositions they need to be successful. And the gap between children who enter school prepared, or he called it ready to fly, and other children is sometimes so wide that they never catch up. We recognize that to really change the trajectory for young children, government alone could not do the job. Governor Hunt's inaugural speech dedicated his third administration. He had been governor for 2 terms and then was out for 8 years and ran again because he thought he hadn't got it right. And he dedicated that administration to young children. In his inaugural address, he said, "I'm ready to lead a crusade for the future of our young children and our state." And within a week of his election, he had named a team of experts to start to craft the specifics of what Smart Start would become. So calling the state to action, he convened state and local leaders in all 100 counties to develop a comprehensive effort from birth to kindergarten, recognizing that a ready child is nurtured and supported first by their families, has their health and learning needs met, including the early identification of special needs, and is emotionally healthy when they get to school. As someone who had worked hard to build better schools and improve the economy in our state in his 2 other administrations, Governor Hunt also recognized that it would take both the private and the public sectors working in harmony to move this big agenda. So everyone came together, the business and commerce leaders, civic leaders, faith communities, education leaders, all human services and state and local child-related program folks, and government as well as nonprofits. A state-level private nonprofit partnership, the North Carolina Partnership for Children, was created at the state level to be an outside government partner, a private organization that worked closely with state government agencies on behalf of young children. And that was the agency that I ran for its first 15 years. But this organization both administered the funding for Smart Start, but also supported communities to be successful. So over a 5-year period, we brought in all 100 counties into the Smart Start effort. Private industry and foundations in our state signaled that this was important by making their largest donations to a state-sponsored program ever, and the North Carolina legislature responded to their lead by offering significant state funding to make the long-term outcomes that we know needed to happen, and that was the funding that made it possible. And today, despite budget cuts that are much smaller than most state programs have received, Smart Start and young children in North Carolina are thriving. Since the beginning, there have been 37 independent research studies, and each shows that Smart Start approach, which is the state and communities working together toward the same goals, is working. A key research finding by the Frank Porter Graham Center at the University of North Carolina is that children with Smart Start support are healthier, have better math and language skills and fewer behavioral problems, and are healthier when they arrive at kindergarten compared to all other children. And national achievement scores show that our better prepared students are continuing to excel after they arrive at school. North Carolina's NAEP scores, the National Achievement Scores, have remained among the most improved in the nation over a period of years, and our high school graduation rate now exceeds 80%, which is certainly not good enough, but better, so much better than where we started. It's not a surprise that money matters, and I'm not afraid to say it. Duke University recently compared school data with Smart Start's funding levels by county and found that 3rd graders had higher standardized reading and math scores and lower special education placement rates in counties that had received more funding for Smart Start when their children were younger. So because we phased them in, and then the last counties didn't get as much funding as the first counties did, it made a huge difference. Remember that we started in North Carolina at the bottom of all statistical lists. We had some of the worst child care standards in the nation. Less than 20% of our teachers of young children had made any kind of educational preparation. And all the indices of child well-being were at the bottom. It was embarrassing, and especially for those of us who had worked our entire lives on this effort. And so a lesson we learned early is that you can get there from almost anywhere. We focused together on creating high-quality programs for all children and making them affordable and accessible, especially to the children who needed them most, children with high risk factors. We used population data to make decisions about where to target our services, and we engaged the health community to make sure that all children are enrolled in a medical home and have early screenings to identify their needs. They are referred for services and that they actually receive the needed services. So what has changed for young children, and what are the key strategies that we think achieved these results? North Carolina has long been a state with a very large population of both parents working outside the home. And most children in our state who are in child care are in licensed center-based child care or licensed family child care homes. Beginning with less than 20% of those programs being of measurable quality, I just want to give you a few specific examples of comparisons between then and now. And many of these are from our Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge application a few years ago. So it's now the case that while there were only 20% of programs that we could even begin to call quality, including our NAEYC accredited programs and some others, it's now the case that 68% of all children from low-income families, and we define that by children that gets any kind of subsidy for their care, are now in our 4- and 5-star rated programs statewide. Some counties are proud to report that all of their child care programs are at the 4- and 5-star level. But it's taken us a long time to get there, and we put a lot of funding toward that. So that doesn't happen by magic. That doesn't happen just because everybody's interested in it. You really have to support it to get that kind of change. 94% of children with special needs are in 4- and 5-star programs, learning in inclusive programs along with their typically developing peers. We don't do only for specialized medical problems do we have any programs that are not inclusive for all children. Beginning at only 10%, we have now more than 99% of all children whose care is paid through Child Care Development Fund dollars in regulated programs. We don't do much unregulated care in our state. More than 40% of teachers of young children have an associate's, bachelor's, or higher degree, and almost every teacher that's in a regulated program is enrolled in some kind of degree-bearing program that will move them toward a degree. Now, this is another area that takes a long time to build because you're working with people that can't just stop and go to college. They're doing it while they're teaching long days and have other work and families and that sort of thing. So that's a long trajectory, but we're moving there in the right direction. North Carolina has the highest rates of early screenings of all states. We created a project called the ABCD project where we work with physicians and medical centers and others to make that happen. And then almost 100% of children with high needs are enrolled in medical homes through a network called Community Care of North Carolina. And this was even prior to the Affordable Care Act. So we were working hard to make sure that children had their health needs met. So how were these things possible? The major change was clearly the involvement of the public and private sectors working together toward these goals. Public-private partnerships combine the best of both worlds. The private sector with its resources, management skills, and technology, and the public sector with its regulatory actions, accountability, and protection of the public interest. This balanced approach is especially successful in the delivery of public services, which typically involve multiple services in different sectors. The public-private partnership united key stakeholders in the early childhood community. We increased public awareness of the importance of the early years, and it both identified funding streams and raised significant private funds, as well as required accountability and evaluated the success of our state and local partnerships. We actually put in place community indicators of success that each county is held responsible for, and their progress is supported by the state nonprofit organization to improve their indicators year after year, and that's things like where are their children, are they in high quality or not, and how many are in various things. So we have a whole system of, we call it performance standards. The other major change is how we approached having a focus not only on the children, we had tried to do that for a long time, but the adults in their lives who matter the most in terms of a child's trajectory toward success, their families and their teachers. Families are key. They're key to everything we do in early childhood. As a parent or other family member loves and nurtures a newborn baby from even before birth, as they read and engage with them on a daily basis, and as they treat them with respect and demonstrate the values they want most for their children to hold, as they set safe boundaries within which children can grow and thrive, families are not only building brains, as we know now from research, but they're building citizens for the future. Families have differing needs and strengths, and our task as early childhood leaders of programs and services is to first view families as the experts on their children, and then to learn from them what they need to help their child succeed. That is why, in my opinion, we have to engage with local communities, because that's where children and families live. And until we get to that level of the work, we're not going to be successful. Then teachers are often viewed by young children as an extension of their family. How many of you have been teachers and you're out in public and they come in, they see you in that place and they think, why are you here? You're my teacher. You're supposed to be in that building. I mean, they're just amazed when they see you looking like you're normal. I believe that a teacher who cares deeply about every child he or she teaches, who supports all the families of those children, and who creates a learning environment where every child can thrive and make progress, I think they are the most important contributor to a good society, and we have to do better at supporting them. While there are some teachers who seem to be born with the gift of knowing just the right way to manage children, doing just the right things, all teachers need education and professional development that builds on their education. I said to somebody last night, I'm not going to choose a doctor just because he's taking a lot of great workshops. I'm going to choose a doctor that has a level of knowledge that I can count on, and then hope he's gotten some new tricks from the training. So I think we need to be sure that every teacher is linked to a base knowledge that we know helps them know what to do and how to manage. They also deserve a living wage that allows them to stay in the field, and the respect and support of a principal or director who is grounded in early childhood and developmentally appropriate practice. We educate teachers and we send them into schools and centers where the director is not educated about how children think and learn. And then we're surprised when they're rewarded for not doing the right things and they don't stay. So it's a huge problem in schools and in child care centers. I think every principal needs a basic level of knowledge about early childhood and just what is appropriate to the third grade, not just in preschool, but until children are abstract learners, they literally learn in different ways than older children do. And we have to be sure we recognize that, and teachers are rewarded for teaching that way. I know you're all the choir. I mean, it's clear that you are the people that know early childhood, but I want to remind us all of 5 numbers that the Center for the Developing Child at Harvard University has offered to us based on some of the highest levels of research that have been done. The first number is 700. There are 700 new neural connections made in a baby's brain every second. Can you even count that up? It's phenomenal, but it happens. And that's why you can't wait until, people used to think, oh, you just kind of ignore children and then they'll grow up and we'll teach them. They get to school, we'll teach them. it's in those, when the neural connections are being made, that we need to be engaging and stimulating and reading and all those things. So that's the first one. The second one is 18 months. That is the age at which disparities in vocabulary begin to appear and begin to separate children who have been exposed to a lot of words and not just hearing them, but having meaning for them. So at 18 months, you start to see the gap if children haven't had that exposure, which is a very good reason to have educated teachers who are modeling good language and reading and all of those things. You know, I always say pre-K is great, but it's too late for a lot of children. So we can't just focus in that one area and not remember that it's children at birth that we have to care about. The third number is 90 to 100%, and that is the chance of developmental delays when children experience 6 to 7 risk factors at an early age. Isn't that scary? The fourth one is 3 to 1 odds, and that it's 3 to 1 odds of adult heart disease after 7 to 8 adverse childhood experiences. And I'm not talking about those things that always happen in every family where a child is under duress. If you have somebody who helps you through that, it's a different situation. But children who don't have caregivers who know how to get them through bad times, or who are abused or mistreated, they are almost sure to have heart disease. And then the last thing is $4 to $9, and that is the return, a very conservative estimate of the return for every dollar invested in early childhood programs. So what you're doing not only matters, but it's critical to the future of your communities and state. Getting things right at the beginning is easier and more effective than fixing them later on. Early childhood matters because experiences early in life can have a lasting impact on learning, behavior, and health. Highly specialized interventions are needed as early as possible for children experiencing toxic stress. That's why we have to get children that are under that kind of stress into our either home visiting or some other educational related program as early as possible. And then early life experiences actually get under the skin and into the body, with lifelong effects on adult physical and mental health. And last, all of society benefits from investments in early childhood programs. How can we not step up? I first met Maria when she became part of a home visiting program which Smart Start was funding in a primary school in a rural part of Lexington, North Carolina, about 17 years ago. Maria and her husband, Craig, were not well educated. One had dropped out of high school in the 9th grade, and the other had only finished 3rd grade due to some major health issues. Their first and second children had very severe disabilities, and they actually lost those 2 children before they'd reached their 3rd year. When their 3rd child, Kurt, was born, he appeared to be normal in every way, and it literally frightened them because they didn't know what to do with a normal child, and they didn't have the special needs community that was supporting them. They wondered how they could teach and support him with their own limited education, and like every parent, they wanted a better life for him than they had had themselves. The local school connected them to a home visitor who visited them on a regular basis, got them into some parenting classes, and built a relationship with them and with Kurt. Maria learned that engaging with Kurt would be critical to his learning words and reading later on. You don't just learn to read in a vacuum. It's all that you've been exposed to up to that time. She learned how to read to him even though she could not read herself many words. She learned to make up the story about the pictures and to show him the book and turn the pages like we do in good practice in classrooms. But both Maria and Craig did everything the home visitor suggested. And Kurt later attended a high-quality learning program and entered school that was ready for every child. That's important. Fast forward to the end of May this year, 2015. Kurt recently graduated from high school with highest honors. He entered school years ago ready to succeed, and now he's entering college with a full year of college credit because he also participated in a community college program where he could earn his credits. And he has a scholarship to attend Western Carolina University in the fall. And Kurt's life will be very different from his family because his parents wanted more for him and did what they learned to do to help him succeed. But Kurt's success was not just his family's responsibility. It was a partnership between his family and a very dedicated home visitor. It was a partnership with a primary school in Lexington whose leaders recognized that not all children come to school with the abilities and skills that they need to succeed. And they set up a program to help before children started to formal school. But it was also a partnership with the North Carolina legislature, with North Carolina state agencies and private businesses and foundations that recognize that funding is needed to provide high-quality programs and services for children who wouldn't be able to participate. So I'm just here to say that the work you're doing every single day is helping children like Kurt to achieve better life outcomes than they would otherwise. And I encourage you not to slow down a step until each and every child in your state has what they need to succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. We are fortunate to learn from you and your experience and your wisdom and your inspiration. And we want those same results for children of Indiana. I also want to echo Monty's remarks, to thank our strategy partners, our project partners, and everyone in the room that works on behalf of young children. I also want to especially thank our board. We have several board members here tonight. The Partnerships for Early Learners team, Early Learning Indiana staff. I just feel so lucky to be part of a team that are all focused on one thing, and that's the success of the children and families they've served. About those children, we have over 100,000 young Hoosier children birthed to age 5 that spend their days outside of their own homes, in schools, centers, ministries, and others' homes. Many of these children are learning and thriving in wonderful places under the guidance of talented teachers. But there aren't enough of those places, and there aren't enough of those teachers. And too many children and families simply can't find and afford them. Only 35% of young children enrolled in a child care preschool program are in a quality setting. Only 14% of lead teachers of young children have a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. And the average cost of tuition is between $7,000 and $12,000 per year, or even more for top quality. Given what we know about the impact of high-quality early childhood education and the lack of quality, accessibility, and affordability, we should not be surprised that our children are showing up to school and unprepared and struggling when they get there. But it's not just about school readiness. Without a strong early childhood system, we cannot thrive as a state. Parents can't go to work and certainly can't be productive. The current and future workforce will suffer, and so will our state. Believe it or not, we're better off than we used to be. Indiana's past equality rating system has raised the bar for hundreds of programs statewide. New child care laws will be enacted actually tomorrow that will raise the standards for child care providers receiving public funding. A new state preschool pilot and Indianapolis program is enabling over 2,200 children statewide to access quality preschool. Those are things to celebrate. But as Karen said, we can't stop there. We still lag behind when it comes to educating your youngest, but there is hope. Research on the business case for early learning has encouraged leaders from PNC, Eli Lilly, Cummins, and many others to advocate for their communities and their employees. State policymakers are seeing early learning in action in their hometowns and are beginning to move our legislature in the right direction. United Way is a leading voice and contributor both locally and statewide. And the Early Learning Advisory Council is pushing Indiana toward policies that improve the state system of early care and education. We are excited to be part of this movement. For over 100 years, Early Learning Indiana has delivered high-quality early childhood education and helped others do the same. Our 11-day early learning centers serve more than 1,300 children per year. You see some of the children around this room. This is Hank. He's one of ours. And that is the core of our work, and we continue to be committed to that. We're the largest On My Way pre-K provider in Indianapolis. Our team of child care resource and referral experts at Child Care Answers helps other practitioners and families provide and access quality. Our new Early Head Start partnership begins serving families with infants and toddlers this month. Our experience is deep and wide, and we have a strong history of partnerships across central Indiana. Now, with the help of a $20 million five-year grant from Lilly Endowment, we have the opportunity to build on that history and partner with our friends and colleagues, most of whom are in this room, and around the state and push Indiana forward. We have the opportunity to capitalize on this momentum here and in every Hoosier community to ensure every child has access to a high-quality early childhood education. A growing body of research, historic private and public funding, support from the business community, emerging partnerships. This is a perfect storm of opportunity for the children and families of Indiana. And we intend to seize on that opportunity on their behalf. We'll work with partners around the state to improve levels of quality in early childhood programs and build capacity in programs to serve more children in high-need communities. We'll strengthen the skills of early childhood professionals to teach effectively, as well as engage families as their child's first teachers. We'll partner with like-minded organizations that want to innovate and tackle big systemic challenges. Ultimately, we'll need to take a much bigger step than the one we took this past year. The leaders in our state will need to make early childhood education a top priority and invest more in our kids. Every Hoosier child deserves a high-quality early childhood education. The means in which children receive their early education is different for every child. Some children can spend their days at home with loving parents. Some children are in early childhood programs to receive an education. This campaign is focused on ensuring those programs are the best they can be for children. Our goal is ambitious but achievable. We'll work with and through partners to assure that at least 75% of children in Indiana's early childhood programs are receiving quality care and education. If we are successful, that will mean that 50,000 more children each year will be better cared for, better educated, and better prepared for school. Thank you. That's a big goal, and it'll take a lot of people working together doing a lot of things. We're one part of it, and we're excited to be a part. We need to start with the focus on quality, though. Our biggest investment will be in raising the levels of quality of existing early childhood programs. Less than 900 of the early childhood programs statewide are rated at the highest levels of quality. That's out of a few thousand. We want to increase that by over 40% by helping 400 programs improve. This begins by helping programs participate and succeed in path to quality. We'll support cohorts of early childhood education providers like child care ministries, schools, and child care homes with investments in their programs and professional development. We'll work to ensure every program has good access to a coach that will give them the help they need to improve, and we'll take a closer look at what it takes to get to the child outcomes that we need. Path to quality ensures the necessary ingredients are on the menu in an early childhood program. However, we all know that all of those ingredients need to be baked just right by teachers and leaders in those programs. Quality teaching makes all the difference for children of all ages. Next, Indiana's 900 and counting quality providers will need our support to sustain their programming and serve more children. That's why we're investing in capacity building efforts to help strengthen these programs so they'll grow and serve more children and keep serving them for years to come. We want to create at least 1,000 new seats in quality programs, and we've already begun by investing $150,000 in on-my-way pre-K providers in pre-K counties to create new seats. We've shown that when we can expand a program in the right place at the right time with the right partner, we can build capacity very quickly. Thanks to a partnership with Eastern Star Church, a grant from United Way of Central Indiana, and a new preschool scholarship in the hands of families, we started up a new day early learning center on the east side of Indianapolis and have enrolled nearly 100 children in less than a month. Parent demand, good timing, good partners make a great combination for serving more children, a combination that we can replicate across the state. To meet our big goal, though, we'll need a stronger workforce of teachers and teacher leaders. Over 16,000 Hoosiers work in early childhood programs, but too few of these individuals have the necessary education and training to do their jobs effectively. They also need higher compensation to do the hard work they do. We'll partner with local universities and professional associations to support 300 new credentials in the field and explore strategies for attracting and retaining great teachers. To this end, we'll work with existing efforts and engage in strategies that will help build the early childhood workforce and with new credential and degree programs, such as a transition to teaching model for people with degrees in other fields but want to teach young children. We also want to create a new master teacher credential that establishes a teacher leader embedded in a program that models best practices and coaches their teachers to improve and innovate. We must also tackle the issues of compensation. We'll explore the feasibility of an early childhood teachers incentive fund that models increased teacher compensation tied to education and performance. All of these efforts will be piloted this year in day early learning centers, and we'll raise our own workforce standards and create leaps in attainment among our own teachers. And after learning from the pilots, we'll roll out these opportunities statewide. Perhaps the most important work we can do will be with families. Families facilitate their children's learning through decisions about early education and through the learning opportunities they create at home and in their communities. Over 300,000 families in the state have children under age 5. Nearly half of these families live in poverty. They need and want support, and so do the programs that serve them. We'll engage at least 7,000 families around the state to help them act and advocate for their children's learning. And by enhancing the child care search process, reaching families through new platforms, and helping improve parent involvement in programs. Our first major project will take place in Evansville, Fort Wayne, and Indianapolis by enlisting 15 full-time AmeriCorps volunteers in these programs to reach families and engage them in their children's learning. And finally, we must take risks with new ideas and collaborations that will tackle big systemic challenges. To do this, we'll invest in innovative partnerships and leverage public and private resources, create new models for the future of the early childhood, and present options to local communities and policymakers who are seeking solutions. We'll look outside of our field. We'll partner with public and private and nonprofit organizations that may or may not be early childhood providers. We need new approaches and ideas to achieve our big goals. The Lilly Endowment has empowered us not only to expand on what works, but to find new solutions. This is just a brief overview of our intentions over the next few years. Each of you have a packet that gives you more detail, and we invite you to go on our website. Our strategies will continue to evolve as we spend more time in communities around the state and learn more from the great experiences of those like in North Carolina, and what works and where to invest. Though this project will not be a solution on its own, it'll help us take a big step. And here's what we hope to accomplish. By 2020, we expect to achieve the following: expand 400 early childhood quality and 400 early childhood programs, create 1,000 new high-quality seats, develop new and better teachers, 300 of them, involve 7,000 families, as their children's first teacher and establish 12 systemic partnerships for change. What's also critical is that we engage 151 state leaders, 100 state representatives, 50 state senators, and 1 governor. Our learning will continue to evolve about how to best implement these strategies in the state with very diverse communities, varying levels of progress in these areas, and different levels of resources to address these challenges. As we learn, we will be assertive with our state's leadership about their agendas for young children of Indiana and their families. Ultimately, our state's success will require greater commitment from our lawmakers. Leadership extends beyond the State House, though. Great things are happening all over our state. The Community Education Coalition in Columbus, the Big Goal Collaborative in Northeast Indiana, the By Five Coalition in Muncie, the Horizon Education Alliance in Elkhart, United Ways in Evansville, Fort Wayne, Anderson, New Albany, Lake County, Central Indiana, the Wellborn Baptist Foundation, the Fullinger Foundation, the DECO Foundation, the Ball Brothers Foundation, the Department of Education, and the Office of Early Child and Out of School Learning. We have the opportunity to witness leadership on the issue. We've had the opportunity to witness leadership on this issue in every corner of the state. And there's great leadership here today. Many of the people in this room have been working on issues like these for decades. What is different now is momentum. Partners aligned from every sector, making small investments of time and resources that seem like a drop in the bucket, but can turn quickly into a rainstorm, a perfect storm of opportunity. We know that together we can take another giant step forward and another until together we build a system that is ready for and worthy of greater public investment so that all children have a great start to school and life. Thank you all for all the work that you do and will do. We look forward to joining you and getting to work. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Melanie Brizzi. I'm the director of the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning, and it's my pleasure to be a part of the Partnerships for Early Learners and to be with you tonight. There is indeed a perfect storm of opportunity, and in fact, as Dan and Natasha, where are you? We're walking in, I think we experienced that part of that perfect storm right outside the doorway. But this is an opportunity that's before us that will allow us to reach our goals of serving Indiana children and serving their families in a much better way. And I am very pleased to be joining the effort. As Ted indicated, over the past several years, we have made significant strides, and I do mean we. All of you in this room have made very significant strides towards these goals that Ted and our partners have articulated through I knew I was going to say that wrong at least once, but probably multiple times. Partners for Early Learners, Partnerships for Early Learners. We need an acronym. I'm a state employee. Somebody give me an acronym. Recently, we implemented Indiana's first state-funded pre-K pilot, On My Way Pre-K. We also, through a very collaborative partnership with the City of Indianapolis and the United Way of Central Indiana, implemented the Indy Preschool Scholarship Program. And that's another example of public-private collaboration coming together to serve Hoosier families. As Ted mentioned, in August, we'll have well over 2,000 children, 3- and 4-year-olds, starting an early education experience that would have never been available to them in the past. And we are hearing such great stories of how thankful families are that they're able to have this opportunity. Our enrollment specialists tell us of children in the office with their backpacks on, wanting to know if today is the day they're going to get to start pre-K. And we're pleased to be able to say to them, not today, but very soon. We've also seen, Ted mentioned tomorrow is a big day for our office and for providers and for families and children across the state as we implement the new state laws that will ensure that children who are receiving child care subsidies through the CCDF program are safer, healthier, better nourished, and better prepared to start school by requiring that our providers that accept public funds meet staff-to-child ratios, group size, ongoing training and education, providing meals and snacks, as well as the provision of daily activities to support their learning. Those are huge changes that will make a significant difference. Ted, we've talked about paths to quality, and we all know how important that is to our quality improvement efforts. Across the years, we've seen the number of programs voluntarily participating in paths to quality grow. As of today, we have 92% of our licensed centers enrolled in paths to quality, almost 70% of our licensed family child care homes, and very close to 18% of our unlicensed registered ministries participating in paths to quality. And I'm told we lead the nation in voluntary enrollment of a quality rating and improvement system. So while we have over 2,500 programs enrolled, not all of them are at that highest level. As Ted mentioned, just over 900 are rated at level 3 or level 4. But we are seeing that number grow every day. We heard Karen speak of in North Carolina being able to say that 70-ish percentage of your CCDF children are enrolled in the highest quality programs. Well, we're still short of that. We're at 35%. But I am pleased to say that 72% of our CCDF children are in a paths to quality program. So with the efforts that we are putting forward through these partnerships, we will see that percentage in level 3 and level 4 continue to grow. We've also made we've made changes to support low-income families. So you've heard talk this evening of supporting the adults that are in the lives of these children. And recently we've had significant changes to help our low-income families here in Indiana. We've increased our TANF transfer funds to the Child Care Development Fund to the maximum allowable 30%. This allows us to serve more low-income families, and of equal importance, allowed us to increase our reimbursement rates and to tier those reimbursement rates based on the quality of the program. So Indiana has put our money where our mouth is and is now reimbursing high-quality programs at a higher rate. Thank you. This is critically important to ensuring the continuity of those quality improvement efforts. But what we have also done is for low-income families who every dollar makes a difference in their budget, we have made it less expensive for them to choose a highly rated program by reducing or eliminating the overage charges. We've also seen changes at the national level through the CCDBG, that's the Child Care Development Block Grant Reauthorization Act of 2014. These make huge changes that will also increase the affordability, the accessibility, and the quality of early care and education program for children all across the nation. We are hard at work implementing the necessary policy changes, and I'm pleased to say that soon, we will be implementing graduated phase-out, which will help soften the cliff effect for our working low-income families who are successfully reaching economic self-sufficiency. And we'll be moving to 12-month reauthorization, which will provide children with more stability in their care, providers with more stability in their enrollment, and very importantly, will keep families from needing to lose time from work in order to come in and reauthorize more frequently. We are very looking forward to these new changes that are going to continue to improve our system. So we have accomplished much over the last several years, but as Ted has stated, and as we all know in our hearts, there is still much work to be done. We have been hard at work within the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning on our strategic plan. It is a comprehensive 3-year strategic plan, and I'm very pleased to say that our vision and our goals and our strategies closely align and mirror those that you will read about in your packet and that you've heard about tonight. It's my pleasure to thank the Lilly Endowment for making these new opportunities available to us, and my great honor to be a part of these partnerships. Thanks to you, all of you in this room, who have made these past changes possible and will make these future changes a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Karen, for your comments and for your leadership for children and families in our state and in our nation. Thanks to the team from Early Learning Indiana and the Partnerships for Early Learners who got us to this point with our strategies and for making this event possible. Thanks especially to Kent Mitchell and Ted Maple for their leadership in making this happen. Thanks to our strategy partners, You know who you are. Lift your hands up, please. You have blue packets with detailed information about our strategies tonight and in the weeks ahead. These are the people you can ask questions. Please do that while you enjoy the cheese and the beverages in the back. And a thank you again to our partners who got us here and our partners who will carry us forward with our plans to improve the outcomes for children, the situation for families in Indiana. These partners include the American Institute for Research, Indiana Youth Institute, Transform Consulting Group, Indiana AUYC, the Early Childhood Center at Indiana University, the Harvard Family Research Project, the Center on Enhancing Early Learning Outcomes, 4C of Southern Indiana, Child Care Answers, the Early Childhood Alliance, the Indiana Association for Child Care Resource and Referral, United Way of Central Indiana, Indiana Workforce Development, Indiana Department of Education, Early Learning Advisory Committee, and the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning of the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration. Thank you. We're looking forward to partnering with you in the years ahead.